What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Two Real Games. My name is Paul.
And this is Mike.
And this is Kate.
And we are doing TLDR. And today we are talking about the book John Dies at the End by David Wong.
And I think the first thing we want to say about this book before we say anything about this book is spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. There's going to be so many spoilers. There's no way to talk about this book without spoiling it.
That is super accurate. So David Wong is the editor-in-chief at cracked.com. And David Wong is actually a pseudonym for his real name is Jason Pargan, and he's like our age. But he goes by David Wong when he's writing weird books about demonic penises and stuff. So there it is.
Yeah. They seem to fluctuate on crack.com between calling him David Wong and Jason Pargan's about 50-50 as well.
Yeah. So, it was kind of like I hear somebody has a pseudonym, and a lot of times I'm just sort of, I'm like, okay, do they want to be known by that or not? But it's like on the back of their, of his book, it says what his real name is. And I'm like, okay, so why are you using the pseudonym? And I get that, like, it's told from this character's point of view that is David Wong. And so it's, and there's the warning on the cover that kind of implies that all of this is sort of real, that this is actual life and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I just kind of think it's funny that he uses a pseudonym.
Yeah. And in the book he explains it, but he doesn't, I mean, obviously that's not the same reason he would give in real life, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he was using David Wong well before he wrote the book.
Right, but David Wong is also the main character of the book.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, the beginning of the book, I really liked the riddle. Like, the riddle was super... It's a question that's been asked before. It's like the broom or the rake riddle, which is, if you've got a rake and the handle breaks and you replace the handle and then the head breaks and you replace the head, is it still the same broom? It's the same riddle's been told with cars and stuff like that, but he does a really clever way of kind of talking about that at the beginning of the book, within the weird confines of the narrative, kind of introducing some of the weird supernatural stuff that you're going to encounter for the rest of the book. I thought it was really good, and it got me super excited about reading the book itself.
Yeah, I think one of the things I enjoyed most was something that we recognized. Ooh, hot dogs. Sorry. One of the things I recognized most.
Hot dog stand.
Hot dog slalom. Was that he had a really entertaining, kind of dry, witty, sarcastic tone of voice that, I was going to hide behind that run. The way he talks when he writes is really kind of witty and dry and just really hilarious. I think probably one of the things I liked most about this book was his writing style. It drew me in and it made me laugh constantly.
It was super sharp. I've read a lot of his stuff on Cracked, and really enjoyed it thoroughly. And so, like, seeing him tackle fiction and kind of no holds barred, I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm about to die. This sort of no holds barred fiction environment, it was a lot of fun. Like, the visuals, the witty writing style, the humorous writing style, really appealed to the things that I like. A lot of the authors I'm drawn to, like Douglas Adams and Christopher Moore, Terry Pratchett.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call it a fair assessment. Like, a lot of people have referred to David Wong as the sort of the Douglas Adams of horror. Douglas Adams did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and he always approached it with this tongue-in-cheek, super witty writing style, and tackled sci-fi tropes and that sort of thing. But I disagree. I don't think he's the Douglas Adams of horror so much. Like, to me, that's always been Christopher Moore. I feel like if he's anything, he's the Douglas Adams of, like, H.P. Lovecraft? Like Call of Cthulhu?
Yeah, maybe.
You know, it's these hidden horrors. And in a lot of ways, I felt like, what I didn't like about the book was that all of the horrors were hidden. In books like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Christopher Moore's books or Terry Pratchett's books, everyone's involved in the ridiculousness. Everything is a parody. And in this book, it was like the world is normal, but there's this weird ridiculousness happening behind the scenes and in the shadows, and the characters are discovering that.
Yeah, Now, you read the paper book. I know I listened to the audiobook. Mike, which one did you do this time?
Audiobook again. It's because I can't read it.
The secret is out. We know your secret. For this one, usually I really like audiobooks, although I tend to end up with the paper book because I'm cheap and they're expensive. But this one, if you're going to read it, I would highly, highly recommend reading it in a paper book or a Kindle book, because the audiobook got really confusing because there's no indicator of when things are changing. There's a lot of skipping around in time, and it's almost impossible to figure out if you're hearing it right or if you've missed something, or if you think sometimes this track maybe has skipped, because it's just so confusing.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
It started off as a series of smaller entries in an almost like a weblog format, a blog. It was on the blogospheres, it had quite a following, and so the fans of the book started printing off their own copies of it and binding it, and so David Wong took the hint and started self-publishing, and when that was successful, a small publisher picked him up, and then when that was successful, a larger publisher picked him up, and then when that was successful, he was able to sell the option for the movie to the guy who did Bubba Hotep.
Which, can we just agree, I love B movies and I love Bubba Hotep, but can we just agree that the movie version of this is terrible?
The movie was absolute shit. And you can
it was.
It just, it lost all the redeeming qualities of the book.
It didn't get it. I have a few issues with the book. Nothing, I liked the book. I loved his writing style, and I thought it was super clever, and it was certainly original. But sometimes the juvenile humor was a bit much for me.
Yeah. Except for the very beginning of the movie, his writing style didn't translate into the movie very well.
And in making the movie, and I don't want to turn this into a movie review, but it's kind of intrinsic to what the book was about. The beginning of the book exactly explains the huge twist at the end. It's exactly what it's about. And again, spoiler warning. But for the last act of the book, it's discovered that David Wong, the main character, has actually been dead the whole time. He was killed and replaced by a clone, and that ties directly into the if you replace the head of the axe and then replace the body of the axe, is it still the axe? Well, if you replace somebody with a clone with all their memories and beliefs, is it still that person?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of a really cool way to tie that opening story riddle thing back into the main plot of the book, because you are you the same person if you have your mind, but you've been replaced physically. It's just a really fun kind of callback.
Yeah.
Are you driving a cop car? Oh,
maybe. I'm not anymore. But now I have cover.
Oh God.
Hey, Mikey's down there.
But you know, one thing that turn of events. The only thing this book suffered from, aside from being a little bit confusing, which makes sense given the kind of book it is, the thing it really suffered from for me is having a hard time making me relate to the characters and making me feel compassion towards the characters. I was really distant from them. So when you found out that he's not who he thought he was the whole time, like, I feel like that should have been more of a blow to the reader. And in my case, at least, I was just like, oh, that sucks. Anyway.
Yeah, you know, finding out he was dead, you know, for me, I was like, well, he was kind of a shithead. And the book never apologized for that. And I think that was part of what he was trying to do was every book, a lot of the fiction that we consume, not all of it, but a large portion of it, you know, we're looking for the hero in the book, the kind of everyman who has redeeming qualities. You know, he might have a dark past, but that's going to get resolved in a montage.
Nice.
And you know, it's somebody we can relate to, and we can put ourselves in. Nice. And he kind of like lampshaded that trope in this by presenting us with a total douche nozzle. You know, like his best friend's sick and overdosing, and instead of taking him to a hospital like any reasonable good person would do, he takes him to work and stuffs him under the counter. Like,
right.
Like, this is not a nice guy at all. And
yeah, so when he's replaced, he goes from being a mild douchebag to being a mildly nice guy.
yeah, it's like it turns the evil twin thing on its ear. Like, they send this, like, every other character that got replaced with these clones, and it's implied that these clones are way more prevalent than they initially believed. You know, it turns these, like, you know, good cops into these evil, you know, monsters. But for him, because he was a fucking asshole, it turns him into a decent person. And it's the first time, like, that's the first indication that, or it should be the first indication that something's not quite right with the main character.
Yeah.
Is that he's nice to people again?
Yeah, he's nice to people. The girl that he used to call a retard and make fun of for
his girlfriend.
throwing, like, he's suddenly nice to her and starts treating her with respect and stuff like that. That is not a rocket launcher. This is a rocket launcher. And it's kind of funny because, like, to me, that's a great sort of technique for distracting people away from what's actually happened, because now it's playing into the trope we're all used to. We're like, oh, this is a good guy with redeeming qualities. He's got that heart of gold finally showing, you know, and so we think, oh, this is, you know, the good guy, and then we find out, no, it's not. This was the evil twin, or the opposite twin.
The less douchey twin.
Yeah, the less of a douche nozzle twin. So that was an interesting way to turn it on its ear, but it was like hard to care that the original character died because he was such a tool bag.
Yeah.
But were we supposed to?
Right. I mean, that might have been the intent.
Because John accepts it. Like, his best friend is like, well, you may be the evil twin, but you're nicer than the original, so maybe it's not such a bad thing that you're...
a creature from another dimension.
Yeah, a creature from another dimension. I love the way he described things. You know, he used terminology and turns of phrase in unique ways. And if somebody who wasn't such an adept writer had maybe tried to do something like this, I think it would have fallen horribly flat.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of the he floated in the sky a way that a whale wouldn't kind of mentality.
Oh yeah, like the Vogan's ships from Hitchhikers.
Right, and that sort of way of describing things, which is like your brain would never go there. He was good at that. I actually think that when it comes down to this book, I think I really like David Wong's writing. I like his writing way more than I like the book. The book, I enjoyed it. It was kind of a fun, quick little read. It definitely had some coherency issues because I think that might have translated over from the being on the internet as a kind of serial. But overall, I really enjoyed his writing, and I loved the kind of quippy way that he wrote. It was very fun.
Oh my!
But yeah, the book had some flaws. The writing style, I would definitely read again. And we
was this his
we have
first
been told
novel?
Yes, it was his first novel.
Yeah,
And we have been told by some
more.
people who enjoyed it that the follow-up had a little bit more coherency because it wasn't written as a blog first. It was written as an entire story. He's also written a story called This Book is Full of Spiders. Seriously, Dude, Don't Touch It. And which I will never own in physical copy because it has spiders all over it. And also a book, I believe, called... I'm going to get it wrong. Something in Fancy Suits. I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. But he has 4 now, I believe. 4? Am I adding that up right? 3?
He has 3.
3.
As far as I know.
I can't count while I'm being
is.
shot at, apparently. You have a minigun out?
Maybe. Not a minigun, but...
Machine gun?
Yes. I have a minigun out, but I'm trying to look at Wikipedia at the same time.
Figure out what the Fancy Suits name is.
Futuristic... let me try that again. Futuristic violence and fancy suits.
Thank you. That one I have no idea what the subject matter is, but I know it's his most recent book.
I think it's a continuation of the previous 2.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Oh.
Oh no. So overall, I liked the book. I found it entertaining. I found it disjointed. In a lot of, like, initially, like, I was super enthralled by the charisma of the writing. And then I went through this phase, especially in the aftermath of watching the film adaptation, of really feeling like it was a bit too tropey for stuff that usually kind of avoids tropes. Like, to me, the character of David Wong in the book like seemed too much of like your kind of mildly reprehensible character a la Arthur Dent from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And then thinking that John kind of started coming across to me as being like the Ford prefect of the Hitchhiker's trilogy, and then and because it was a lot of that sort of, these two characters, one who's kind of a nut job, who's enabling the one who's kind of this reprehensible everyman, having all this weird shit happen around them. So it seemed a little oddly archetypical to me.
That makes sense.
For something that was trying to like break stereotypes. It was like, well, you're kind of hitting some of the stereotypes of things that break stereotypes, which is super meta.
It's so meta. So So do you guys think you will read other books by David Wong? Are you interested in his other writing? Are you going to pass on his other writing?
Yeah, I'll probably end up reading some of his other stuff. Because this was his first novel, so there's going to be some bumps in it. And while he was writing it, he basically didn't have an editor sitting there telling him, okay, you probably should change this, to kind of smooth these rough edges out.
Right, he did it all on his own kind of thing.
Yeah. And while, yes, he
I would
is an
agree with
editor, yeah, you still need
it's not the
somebody
same when it's your
else
own
to
baby,
look at.
though.
Yeah. Die, Chihuahua.
I think I would agree with that. I think I will probably end up reading one or two of his other books just to see how he progresses along. I'm interested to see, and he is a really funny guy. I listen to him a lot on Cracked on their podcast, and he does crack me up just in the way he speaks. So I'm hoping there'll be some more good content from him, and we can check out some of his other books. Plus, they don't take a hugely long time to read, so I'm happy to kind of spend that time. I liked his style enough.
Yeah. Unlike Lovecraft, it's an easy read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be interested to see him, rewrite Lovecraft.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, there'd be less syllables, at least.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Victory grenade's going awry. Guys, did you know grenades bounce?
I did.
They will bounce right back at you.
Oh, nice. So as far as me, I'm gonna wait and let you guys read his other books before I pick them up.
Give some opinions.
I don't know. I liked it, but I would if I was gonna spend time on a book, I would much rather pick some authors that I know I'm gonna like more. The incoherency of the book is really what kind of keeps me apprehensive about picking it up again. But of course, like we mentioned, his subsequent novels have been written to be novels as opposed to being serials. So maybe that's been fixed.
Well, maybe we can do a follow-up if we both enjoy some more of his stuff. I'm happy to cover it again and see how he progresses as a writer.
There's so many cops over here.
I tried to hit some SWAT team with a golf club, but it turns out automatic rifles outpace golf clubs in the damage
You're supposed to use a hatchet.
Why?
Which I can't, because that's what he used in the book to kill the guy at the beginning.
Oh, you're right. Here.
Oh, that wasn't a hatchet.
Oh, ow! You shot me in the ankle to death.
Having said that, all of that. Hey, I got your bounty. Yeah.
You monster.
$1,200 is all mine. Having said all that,
Victory grenade.
Oh my gosh. I'd still recommend the book. It's extremely popular on the internet. It's got a bit of a cult following. Come back here, cop. I wanna show you my axe. Oh, I showed him my axe. The other cops are not happy about that. I want to ask you something. Oh. Yeah. Check it out. It's a good book. Don't watch the movie. Fuck the movie.
The movie just missed some of the points that really drove, the things that really drove the book that made it really enjoyable. The movie just completely was either unable or unwilling to put in, and I would just say pass on it. I mean, if you love campy B movies, go for it, but just keep in mind it really is not at all like the book, and it shouldn't really even share the name because it kind of doesn't do it the justice that it should.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like taking all of the references to magic out of Harry Potter.
Right. Just, being like, it's still Harry Potter, though, because we've got the names of the characters.
We've got the names of the characters, and except the dog.
Yeah, why would you change the dog name? I don't. That seemed like a weird Hollywood decision that the dog's name wasn't doggy enough.
I guess. What did they name it?
Barkley?
Barkley or
Barkley
something like
instead
that?
of Molly.
Yeah. Well, they're like, you know what? We need more boys in this movie that's all full of boys. So we're going to make the dog, whose name is Molly in the book.
Well, maybe they're like, maybe the dog isn't doggy enough. Maybe we need a more dog name. Like,
we're going to confuse audiences by not calling the dog Spot, you know. Well, who's Molly? I don't know. Anyhow. Did they even blow up the dog in the movie?
No.
I don't think so. People don't like you killing dogs in movies. In fairness, people lose their shit.
Yeah.
Even if the dog is then
like,
subsequently resurrected.
Yeah, which happens in the book. Spoiler warning.
A lot.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
The dog is immortal.
The dog's immortal in the book, or something, or more clones like the main character. But just like these cops who keep getting up.
Just never stay down.
Just never ever stay down. Yeah.
Overall, though, pretty enjoyable read. I do not regret the time I spent on that book at all.
Yeah.
And it does answer the question it poses at the beginning of, you know, is it the X? Which is no, but sometimes it's better.
Yeah.
Right. And the only spoiler I think we're not going to give away, which amuses me to no end, is because every time I read the book and tell somebody I've read the book, the first thing they ask me is, does John die at the end? And I don't think we should tell you. I think that's the part you need to read it for.
Yeah. You definitely need to know that.
So go ahead and read it, and then you can tell us, does John die at the end?
All right, everybody. So that was TLDR, our super violent book club, and we hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment below what you thought of our thoughts on the book. Yeah.
Or if you have your own thoughts, even.
Do you have your own thoughts on the book?
We also take book
now
recommendations.
because it's your favorite cult book, and we just didn't give it a glowing review necessarily.
Maybe we are just not smart enough to understand the glory that is this book. Feel free to tell us why, and give us any other book recommendations, because we're always willing to read what you guys want to hear us talk about.
Yeah. So up next, we're actually dragging Steve into this bodily, and the four of us will be logging in to talk about a book we've all already read, but are in the process of rereading, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
I'm very excited about it. I love this book.
I love this book too. So feel free to subscribe. That way when it does come out, you'll be ready and waiting to do it. Oh, my stars, I got blowed up. And we're also going to do the second issue of Captain America Steve Rogers probably pretty soon. So to finish up that project that we started.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.